Hello students and welcome to Crop Science 6049. In today's lesson we are going to look at flower initiation. By the end of this lesson you must be able to explain how vernalisation and photoperiodism influence flower initiation. So let's take a look at how vernalisation and photoperiodism influence flower initiation. We are going to start with vernalisation. Vernalisation is the induction or the initiation of a plant flowering process by exposure of a plant to prolonged cold temperatures naturally or artificially. So vernalisation simply is exposing a plant to a cold stimuli so that flowering can be initiated. The condition usually occurs in winter varieties of some annual plants, for example, wheat, barley, or rye, and some biennials such as cabbages and sugar beets, and also some perennials. The length of the exposure to the cold temperatures it varies depending on species. The period can vary from 4 days even up to 3 months, and also the temperatures they vary from 3 degrees Celsius up to 17 degrees Celsius. Vernalisation is caused by plant growth substance called vernalin, which can be transmitted if plants are grafted. And during vernalisation, a hormone called gibberellins also increases within a plant. And if gibberellins are applied to a plant that has not been vernalized, you can see that gibberellins can actually substitute vernalin. Now, what are the importance of vernalisation? Vernalisation prevents plants from maturing too early in the growing season. Therefore, they get enough time to mature. It also induces early flowering and reduces the vegetative phase of a plant. So if you are a farmer and you want to induce flowering to a certain type of a plant, you can actually expose it to cold temperatures, and then you induce flowering, and the vegetative phase of that plant will be shortened. It also increases yields in plants. It also provides resistance to cold and diseases. It enables biennial plants to behave like annuals. And also vernalisation allows plants to grow in regions they normally don't grow. Now let's take a look at photoperiodism. Photoperiodism, this is simply a physiological reaction of plants to the length of day and night. So in other words, this is a response of plants to the length of day and night. And it is actually a developmental response of plants to the relative light and dark periods. And plants have been classified based on their photoperiodic response as follows. We have short day plants, we have long day plants, we have got day neutral plants, we have got long short day plants, and also we have got short long day plants. So let's take a look at each of them in detail. Short day plants, these are plants that flower when the photoperiod or day length is short. That is when there are longer periods of darkness. Examples of short day plants are tobacco, soybeans, sugarcane, coffee, and they produce flower in spring or in winter, and that is the time when the days are short and the nights are longer. Right, if we can take a look at this diagram here, when we have long periods of light, you'd see that this plant here is not flowering. But as the periods of light have been shortened, this plant here starts to flower. When it comes to this plant here, it still has short periods of light, but the dark period has been interrupted, and that caused this plant not to flower. So according to this diagram here, what is causing this plant to flower is not the period of light, but the period of darkness. Since when the period of darkness was interrupted, this plant failed to flower. Now let's take a look at the Longday plants. These are plants that begin forming flowers when there are long periods of light than period of darkness. Below the critical photoperiod, these plants continue their vegetative growth, and the critical photoperiod vary from species to species. Most summer crops are long day plants. For example, we've got lettuce, spinach, potatoes, barley, etc. Let's take a look at this diagram. For this plant here, it's flowering because here there are long periods of light. This one here is not flowering because here we've got long periods of darkness. This one again is flowering because the period of darkness has been interrupted with a period of light, which means the period of exposure to light has been extended. Hence, this plant was able to flower. We also have day neutral plants. These are plants that flower irrespective of the length of light hours to which they have been exposed to. So how then do they flower? They flower when they reach a particular stage of maturity, or because of some other cues such as temperature or water, or simply they respond to the aging process. Examples are sunflowers, peas, and tomatoes, which are considered to be day neutral plants. So this is the diagram representing a day neutral plant. As you can see, it's flowering irrespective of the photoperiod. Now let's take a look at the long short day plants. These are plants that require long photoperiods for flower initiation and short photoperiod for the flowers to bloom. So they require long photoperiods for the process of flowering to start, and then they require short photoperiods for the flowers to bloom. We also have short long day plants. These are plants that flower after a sequence of short days followed by long days. So they require a period of short days, which means they will require a more darkness followed by a long days, which means followed by a period of very little darkness. Now let's take a look at the mechanisms of photoperiodism. Photoperiodism is physiological reaction of plants to the length of the day. So photoperiodism is a physiological reaction of plants to the length of the day, and as we have talked above, the critical factor that is responsible for the flowering is the length of light and dark periods. And the length of the light and dark periods is detected by phytochrome. And phytochrome is a photoreceptor. It is actually a photoreceptor, and a photoreceptor is something that responds to the light that is falling on it. So phytochrome is a photoreceptor that responds to light. So it is used by plants to sense the levels, the intensity, the duration, the color of the environmental light in order to adjust the physiological processes within the plant. And phytochrome, it exists in two forms. There is an active form of phytochrome that is known as phytochrome far red. And there is an inactive form of phytochrome that is known as phytochrome red, or PR in short. The inactive form of phytochrome can be converted to the active form when it absorbs red light. So if phytochrome red absorbs red light, it can be converted to the active form phytochrome far red. The active form of phytochrome is broken down into the inactive form when it absorbs far red light. So phytochrome far red can be changed to phytochrome red if it absorbs far red light. Additionally, the active form will gradually revert to the inactive form in the absence of light. So, if the active form of phytochrome, that is phytochrome far red, is exposed to darkness, it will be converted to the inactive form of phytochrome. And because sunlight contains more red light than moonlight, the active form is predominant during the day. So the active form of phytochrome is active during the day. Similarly, as the active form is converted to inactive form in darkness, the inactive form is predominant during the night. So during the night, we have inactive form of phytochrome. So to sum up this, we have phytochrome, far red, and we have phytochrome red. And phytochrome red, which is the inactive form, is converted to phytochrome far red when it absorbs red light. So when phytochrome red absorbs red light, it is converted to phytochrome far red. When phytochrome far red absorbs far red light, it is converted to phytochrome red. And phytochrome red is converted to the active form of phytochrome far red during the day when red light is present. And phytochrome far red is converted to the inactive form of phytochrome, that is phytochrome red, during the night. So a plant will have more of phytochrome far red during the day and more of phytochrome red during the night. Only the active form of phytochrome is capable of causing flowering and controlling photoperiodic response. So it's only phytochrome red that can cause flowering in plants. However, its action differ in certain type of plants depending on the amount of phytochrome far red. For example, in short day plants, phytochrome far red actually inhibits flowering. Hence, flowering requires low levels of phytochrome far red. So, if a short day plant is more of phytochrome far red, it will not flower. It has to have more of phytochrome red and less of phytochrome far red in order to flower. In long day plants, phytochrome far red activates flowering, and hence flowering requires high levels of phytochrome far red in long day plants. Now let's take a look at the significance of photoperiodism in plants. It determines the season in which a particular plant shall come to flower. Some plants they flower during the winter season, some plants they flower during the summer season, depending on the periods of darkness and light. And also, knowledge of photoperiodic effect is useful in keeping some plants in vegetative phase in order to obtain high yields, for example for tubers, rhizomes, flowers, and also for plants such as those that are grown for their leaves. For example, there are certain plants, for example rape, mustard, if they are exposed to long periods of light, they may start to flower. So if you want to prevent flowering of these plants, in order to keep on harvesting the leaves, what you need to do is you need to expose these plants to the correct photoperiod in order to keep them in the vegetative phase. It also enables plants to flower in different seasons, and this can help fruits to be produced there off season. So if we have a fruit tree that require long periods of light for it to flower, a farmer can take advantage and expose these fruit trees to long periods of light, especially during winter, for them to produce fruits during the period that they don't usually do. Or if they are plants that require short periods of light and it is winter time, a farmer can take advantage of photoperiodism and expose these plants to longer periods of light in order to induce flowering and yield fruits during the period that this plant don't usually do. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you have any questions, additions and subtractions, please write them in the comment section. If you feel you have benefited from this video, please click the like button.